So in terms of optimising radio ROI, this is putting through the fancy and statistically complex meta-regression analysis and focusing in on what from a planning perspective and what from a creative perspective impacts the results that UK advertisers see from the radio. They found by using the analysis that there's a variety of different factors which can influence the returns an advertiser gets from their media investment. Some of these are fixed factors on the left, things you can't actually control for. The sector that you're in affects the return you see, the position in market, the life stage of the brand, whether you're new or an established player. Those things affect the type of return that you get from your campaigns. But obviously you can't control for the sector that you're in or the type of purchase that you are. So those things you can't control for. The things you can control that have an impact in terms of the level of return you see from a campaign are things like radio planning and creative execution. So what do we learn from a radio planning perspective? Well, this chart demonstrates across the bottom, the horizontal axis even, is average weekly coverage, so average weekly reach achieved by a radio campaign increasing from left to right. On the vertical axis going up is the uplift in sales for products driven by the radio campaigns. What the chart demonstrates is that as weekly coverage on radio increases, so does the uplift in sales driven by the radio campaign. Essentially what this demonstrates is that if you increase the number of people you reach using a radio campaign, the uplift in sales you achieve also increases as well. In the UK, things have been traditionally bought and sold in terms of frequency, the number of times people hear a campaign, rather in terms of the number of people you reach using a campaign. What this chart suggests is actually coverage is incredibly important. Reaching as many people as possible using the radio is incredibly crucial in terms of driving a better return. So don't just think of radio as a cheap way of building frequency. Think of it as a way, a really essential way of gaining basically a lot of people hearing your message and then acting on it as well. And what we found is that on average, if you can reach around 40% of the population every week in terms of your message, that's the optimum point in terms of driving a sales uplift from a campaign as well. So I'm not going to think about radio just as a way of getting people to hear your message time and time again. Think about using radio as a way of reaching as many people as possible with your campaign to drive long-term business success. So that's a finding in terms of what the media planning perspective found in terms of driving better radio returns. But what do we find from a creative perspective in terms of what do the best campaigns have in common creatively that can drive results? We found a variety of different elements have an impact when it comes to creativity and driving better results on radio. These different elements kind of fit neatly into three different subsections. We have standout, which is about having a distinctive and memorable campaign construct. We have brand fit, which is about using recognisable pieces of voice, music, strap lines, etc. that kind of link together across radio campaigns and also with other channels like TV, press, etc. as well. And we also have clarity, so it's really important that people can understand who the brand is that's talking to them, and also clarity of message. Don't overcomplicate things in your campaign. Now these three findings, standout, brand fit, and clarity of message, come through time and time again in pieces of research that we conduct in the UK in terms of what creative elements really inspire better campaigns. So it's really kind of strong to see this coming through and then having an impact in terms of the return you see. So it's really important to understand that standout, being distinctive, understanding that a simple message often works best, and linking together your radio campaigns from time to time and radio within the wider media mix are incredibly important from a creative perspective as well. And being distinctive and being memorable are things that my fellow Brit Sam Crowder will come back to talk to you about at the end of the day in his excellent Power of Sound presentation as well.